Hi, my name is Dusko Ljubojevic. I'm the managing director of Raiden Resources. We're an ASX listed exploration and development company. Our key project is the Mount Shoal nickel, copper, cobalt, palladium project in the Pilbara region of Western Australia. It's an advanced project which we are now drilling at the moment, and this is the first campaign that's been happening over this project for well over a decade.
Dusko, how are you? Haven't seen you for a while. You well?
Been a long time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Lack of travel and getting your head down and actually doing some work with the course for that. So, might be worth just introducing yourself to the viewers and listeners. I mean, so give us a bit of background on you.
Certainly, by background, by training, I'm a geologist, exploration geologist. I've been in the industry for over 15 years. The last 5 years, I've been in corporate roles, and specifically with Raiden. I've been with Raiden since inception, since we started the company back in 2018. And
Right.
I've been heading the ship since then.
So, sorry. And by the way, I'm going to apologise for the noise of the fan in the background because your large PC is struggling with the heat and processing data, presumably. So, before we get any complaints, can you just give us a bit more about what have you done in the past, which is kind of relevant to what you're trying to do today? Because I know you've worked all over the world, but what are the most relevant experiences that you've had?
I've had quite an eclectic career. It's spanned through many roles, from early stage exploration through to working on development projects as well. So I've worked on a development project quite closely in Senegal. I was responsible for brownfield exploration at that point in view. That was very much a technical role. I've also done a lot of due diligence and evaluations for a number of clients where we would have taken, let's call it, advanced properties and run through the exercises of trying to determine whether the project is an advanced project which has been standing on the side for a reason, or whether there is actual economic viability for this thing to be progressed.
Right. Okay. So the difference between sort of a reboot and a rehash, because the rehash things, a lot of that out there. So tell us about how you picked this asset up, and what indeed have you got, and what it cost you.
Certainly. So I guess just as a bit of background, the company was initially founded on assets in Eastern Europe, where these were exploration assets focused on the Western Tethyan within Serbia and Bulgaria. We have a very large ground holding, and what we've been doing is just building up the portfolio here since 2018 and doing a lot of target generation. I'd like to point out that this part of the portfolio will be taken forward as well. We are in discussions with various partners to ensure that shareholders retain the discovery upside. Now, in 2020, gold was doing really well. It was just the beginning of COVID. There was quite a bit of uncertainty, as with everybody, in terms of what we would be and wouldn't be able to do here in Europe, and the situation was quite fragile at that specific time within the first few months of COVID. In contrast, Australia was a pretty good place to operate. We were offered a portfolio of projects in the Pilbara in 2020, and it was mostly a scrip deal, so there was some cash involved, but in essence, we ended up paying approximately 20% of the company at the time for this portfolio. And like I said, it was quite a large portfolio of projects. The focus was on the gold asset, which is called Arrow, and still a very high quality exploration play, which is approximately 30 kilometers down the road from a project discovery, the Hemi discovery by De Grey. But within the portfolio, we also acquired two relatively small licenses, and that's the Mount Shoal project. We had a closer look at this project, and we realized that there was an immense potential within the whole district. And then following 12 months, what we've been doing is consolidating the entire district to a point where now we control all the known historical deposits and prospects within the entire district. And we've pretty much covered off the entire exploration potential of the ultramafic intrusion. So what Mount Shoal is, like I said, we didn't initially go into the Pilbara for this asset, but we recognize the potential of it. And it's a historical deposit which was owned by numerous operators before that. They had a processing plant about 11 kilometers down the road from us. So this was, in essence, the upside potential to a historically producing mine, Radio Hill, which has since then production has ceased and the resources were exhausted. But, as with our industry, as you have these fluctuations in price and markets, etc., the Mount Shoal deposits never got developed. So essentially they remained as latent upside. So it's defined through 80,000 meters of historical drilling. So there's quite a lot of work which has been done on this thing. It's got 3 historical deposits with JORC 2004 resources. And historical work essentially focused on very much the highest grade portions of these deposits. So cumulatively approximately 9 million tons, running at maybe 0.5 nickel and 0.5, 0.6 copper. All 3 deposits are near surface or outcropping essentially. All 3 deposits are open along strike and at depth with very good grades. So a very, very exciting opportunity to be able to take on a project like this in a nickel market, which we're in, and generate value for shareholders.
Right, but tell me this, Dusko. You're whatever 10 million market cap at the moment. You've swung from the Tethyan play, Serbia play, through to the Aussie play, and you kind of explained, the vagaries of the gold market and what's been happening out there has been tricky, but you're not getting that traction that you want. What are you going to do with the data, or in terms of your plans at Mount Shoal, which is going to drive this thing and capture people's attention, because it seems to be moving probably too slowly as far as the market's concerned. So what's the big idea?
Look, absolutely. I think it's taken us a long time to be in a position where we can get on the ground and drill. I think the market, made it quite clear that they did want us to move faster. Management did move as far. We did this as quickly as possible, and part of what we were doing is actually building relationships with the local communities as well at the same time. So it's not complete standby time. It is something that is absolutely important with regard to any project. Now we're, as you said, we're a $10 million company at the moment, but this right now is the first time we're actually, in the last 18 months since we've been saying that we're about to get on the ground and start drilling, this is the first time we're actually doing it right now. So this is a very important drill campaign, because it should allow us to add a lot of value to the project through relatively small amount of drilling, and that is in terms of conversion to potentially JORC resources, modern JORC resources. It's the potential to get some further information on metallurgy, and it'll give us this is the key program right now, which should help us map out a path. Where do we go with this asset over the next, let's say, 12 to 24 months? Are we looking at extensions? Is the lower grade mineralization potentially is the metallurgy going to perform as we anticipated on the lower grade metallurgy? Do we have a larger open pittable asset here? Our cutoffs and our modeling suggests that we might have upwards of 20 to 40 million tons here in open pit. Like I said, historically, most of the work was focused on the highest grade portions of mineralization. The other important thing we need to determine, and it's a positive. I mean, the last time this project was being considered from an economic point of view, palladium was maybe 1/10 of the price of what it is today. Maybe not 1/10, but it was at some point down in the $300 range. Palladium right now is well over $2,000 an ounce. So there are a lot of hopefully positive surprises which we're going to have. We know what we do have, but like I said, I think there is the potential for really generating value for relatively a small amount of money that we're about to spend on this campaign.
Right. Okay. So 20 to 40 million tons is not a lot. Okay. The grades are okay. So you're going to need to show and deliver scale on this thing. And so are you really clear with this drill campaign, which is starting now, where you're going and what it's going to allow you to actually tell the market? Because there's a kind of bit of, you need to manage the market's expectations. Having said you're going to get after this for, the last few months and you haven't. And I get the community relations, that's really super important. But at the same time, the market's going, it's tough out there. I'm looking for good news stories. I'm looking for you to kind of deliver into this, battery metal thematic, which you've told us you will do. But what are the things that you're going after? Clearly, high grade. Although you and I know grade isn't the only factor, it's one of many factors. It's the factor which gets the market going. So are you going after kind of some nice, easy headline wins, or are you trying to map this out and plan this in the correct geological manner so that you actually get a better sense of, what you're dealing with here? I mean, what's the approach?
We're looking at this very much strategically with a long-term view. So while I think, we will hopefully get some nice headline numbers, but these headline numbers are all part of the actual work which we need to undertake anyway, right? So we need to get the core. We need to twin some of these holes. So in essence, where we are taking this thing is, you're right. It's not a tier 1 nickel deposit with 2% grades. But it's also incredibly underexplored. I would say 90% of the drilling has been only in the top 100 meters. All 3 deposits are outcropping. So in essence, if you're talking about the nickel deposits, this is a nickel, palladium, copper, cobalt deposit, which sits in world's best mining jurisdiction, is outcropping, is within a stone's throw of all the infrastructure and a port that we need. So that is the exciting stories. We know what we have, which is an advanced nickel deposit, but what we don't have and what subsequent drilling campaigns are going to tell us is the potential to then grow to 40, 50, 60, 100 million tons, because it hasn't been explored. Like I said, I think what we have right now is exciting. It's a great asset in a great jurisdiction with a great commodity. But what we don't know is there 100 million tons here at 1% nickel, right? We don't know. So that's what the subsequent drilling campaigns are going to be focused on as well.
So let's look at that then. So how does the $10 million company come at that? So first of all, how much money have you got today, and how much is allocated to drilling?
So we've raised just recently $1.8 million. That was on top of previous cash holdings. So we're just at a $2 million as of the last reporting date. And roughly we're looking at about 1.4 million. 30% of all, by the way, of the expenditure will be paid through stock to the drilling contractors as well. So, we have sufficient capital for this initial maiden drilling campaign, and we anticipate as well some capital to come in from some of the divestments which we're undertaking at the moment from non-core assets of the portfolio.
What are they? The non-core stuff?
Well, look, non-core is everything other than Mount Shoal at the moment. So part of the strategy is
okay. So Arrow could go.
Arrow, the remainder of the assets in Australia, as well as the assets in Eastern Europe, which we still own. So we are looking to do divestments of these assets to obviously generate value, keep the upside exploration for shareholders, and bring some cash in as well.
Okay, so you're look. It's a delicate dance that you guys have to do at this level. Every dollar counts, right? And you got to work out how you get cheap money in, and how you monetize non-core. Brilliant. So we'll wait to hear how you do that over the next few months or so. With regards to the best use of money, I said it there. Every dollar counts. The best return on capital invested is, as far as you're concerned, is through the drill bit.
Yep.
So what? So then, what work has been done on the historic data? Have you reinterpreted it in any way? Because there's some value there. But
Absolutely. Look, absolutely. I mean, that's what we've been doing for the last 12 months quite intensely. We've had a dedicated person essentially looking at this, taking the historical data, remodeling it. You have to realize that, like I said previously, I think cobalt and palladium weren't even being considered as byproducts in the historical economic analysis. It was purely based on copper and nickel. It was purely based on the assumptions that only the highest grades will work. A lot of historical work has gone into this thing. So again, it's a fantastic opportunity for us to actually take these assets right now and, in essence, put them into the context of today's nickel environment, copper, palladium, and see how to take this thing forward. Look, again, it's just down the road. We had production from very similar deposits with very similar grades, right, and lower prices than what we have today. So we've been doing this quite intensely. We obviously need a lot more data. We need core. We need to do more. We need to do more metallurgy, in essence. We need to figure out if we can be more aggressive with some of the pit designs which we've been undertaking, and from here we'll have, like I said, we'll have a much clearer understanding of how we approach this asset over the next 18 to 24 months as well.
Right. Okay. And here's the other bit. So I appreciate what you're doing, and you know, it sounds like there's a plan, and you got to get lucky, you got to be smart, you got to be efficient, all of those wonderful things. But I've got to come back to something I said earlier, which is around how you talk to the marketplace at this level. Who in the team is the market-facing guy or the street-facing guy that's talking to the brokers, is talking to any of this kind of this capital which you may need coming down the line, and even facing off against retail, because you need to pitch this. It needs to be positioned as a story which you're in control of, the things that you're in control of, that you are going to be able to create some value, and if it doesn't kind of work out, can you offload it to someone else who might have the balance sheet to do that? So there's a lot to do there. But are you the finance guy? Are you the money guy?
Am I the money guy? I'm essentially, I mean, obviously, as most junior exploration companies, you know, we'll have to wear many different hats. When it comes to raising capital, yes, I do get involved. I work very closely with our chairman on this, Michael Davey, who's based in Perth. So he's been very closely involved with a lot of the financing, and we've had really good support. Look, in terms of raising capital, our last capital raise, the 1.8 million, came in very quickly. It came in less than a day. So I think people do see the value in the asset. Obviously, the uptake from the market has been slow, but in all fairness, you know, we haven't been able to demonstrate the value of the project because we haven't been able to get on the ground for the last 12 months. That's obviously changed, right? In terms of telling the story, it's once again today it has been a little bit challenging because it's kind of repeating over and over what we're going to get on the ground, we're going to drill, we're going to get on the drill. People want to see drill results. Again, it's happening. So it's quite interesting. I think this would be probably one of the first marketing events that I'm doing subsequent to us being able to get on the ground and start drilling. And the story to date has not been told as aggressively as obviously we would have been able to. But again, there's only so much talking you can do about rehashing historical data. People want to see you get on the ground and start drilling. So that is happening right now. Unfortunately, you know, markets are what the markets are, but that, it's always going to be a cyclical nature. And, we're going to be pretty aggressive in terms of telling the story. And you're right. The next question is, where are you taking this asset, right? Who's going to be, is this going to be mined? Is this ultimately, is it going to be a heap leach? We don't know. It's ultimately a lot of questions are going to be answered from this first drilling campaign. We'll be getting the critical information that we need. You mentioned, you have to be smart, you have to be lucky. In essence, we don't have to be that lucky, because 80,000 meters of historical drilling has, taken out a lot of this risk for us. A lot of the technical risk, it's been de-risked, right? So we're a company with a nickel deposit, right? How big and how high a grade can we get it? That's the question which we're going to be answering over the next 12 to 24 months.
Okay, great. And just going to finish up, I want to talk about the kind of the share register structure. So, have you been in it from the beginning?
Absolutely, yeah.
How much money have you put in? Money, not sweat equity, money.
Probably over 150,000. I've participated. I have close to 30 million shares, most of which I've actually purchased.
Okay, in the open market.
I've participated in the raises, but we've been quite active, so it's been quite tricky when to purchase in the open markets. But most of my stock has been paid for.
Right. So, and it says here, directors own 5% of the company. Presumably, not everyone's been piling in money. Everyone's been given shares for participating in this thing. So, who are the kind of?
I believe all the directors have, or most of the directors have essentially bought a lot of their own stock as well.
A lot. Okay.
So, a fair amount. I would say more than half of the shares which are owned by the directors have been purchased.
Okay. 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 Well, I guess that, it's all relative.
And as management, we're well incentivized, and I'd like, pretty much in line with the shareholders. So, we'll do well if the stock price does well.
Okay. And who are the kind of big shareholders in this?
We have Qatar Investments, which is essentially Tolga Kumov's private investment, Rock Juice and Tanishan. We have Pacton Gold, which was essentially the vendor that we purchased the Australian assets from. They are our biggest shareholder as well. They're sitting at just about 10%. So it's a pretty tightly held stock. Top 20 hold over 50% of the company, right? And it's been a group of investors, the top 20, that have really supported us in multiple raises over the last 2 years.
Okay. And the money that you do have right now, this is circa 2 million, that's going to last you until when? And are you reassessing the drill program off the back of what's happening in the marketplace? Because do you think anyone's paying attention in the market, or is it you've got to, and because of the kind of recent history, you've got to get on with drilling at full bore, full pace?
Look, we anticipate this will take us through till the end of the program, and then some to do some of the studies thereafter. Now, in terms of In terms of the market, you're right. It's a challenge. It's a challenging time for companies. We are looking in terms of how extensive this program will be, and again, like I said, we're looking to create as much value as we can with as little drilling. Now that will depend on the early results. So if let's say within the first month of drilling, we hopefully achieving more than we were planning to, there is the scope to perhaps decrease the size of the program, conserve some more capital if we can achieve these milestones with less drilling. But ultimately, look, I mean, we're not going to be sitting on the asset. There are always discussions that are ongoing, be it in terms of whether we take this asset more aggressively ourselves, whether we pace ourselves and wait for the right timing in the markets, but also, from a strategic point of view, this is probably the biggest asset in the Pilbara right now within a 30-kilometer radius. There are quite a number of nickel assets up there. Most of them are way smaller, that this asset, this is the most advanced asset as well. So I think it's got quite a bit of strategic importance to it as well, which does give us the potential to perhaps, start looking up over the horizon, and that may present potential funding opportunities as well, without having to dilute in these markets at the moment.
Okay, well, let's see how that side of things goes. And I guess the other kind of element to this before I go is I think you've talked about heritage surveys, permits, and that sort of thing. In today's environment, it seems. Well, I think it's the tide is slightly changing on this front, but it has been a big topic for the last 18 months or so, which is around the ESG and social permits and social licensing. And in Australia's case, the heritage surveys are super, super important. Is this all part of that conversation that you're having locally to ingratiate yourself as the new guys on the block?
Absolutely. It's, we're calling it ESG today. Ultimately, it's common sense. I mean, there are companies that have been making mistakes before. There are companies that make mistakes even today. And, we really took our time, and we really want to work with the community very closely on this one. A lot of the ground where we are looking to do our work has been previously disturbed. But ultimately, we had to get these agreements into place anyway. We negotiated in good faith with the community, and we think this, we want this asset and we want this story to be a win-win for everybody. Like I said, it's my firm belief from experience on every continent I've ever worked in every country. If you don't have a win-win relationship and a working positive relationship with the local community, no matter how much support you're getting from whatever levels of government, ultimately it's going to be very difficult to move that project forward.
Dusko, appreciate your time today. Thanks for sharing the story with us. Stay in touch. I want to see how this thing develops.
Thank you, Matthew.